This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. 4 people are dead and a 5th person is in hospital after a shooting in Winnipeg's West Broadway neighborhood early yesterday morning. Today, Winnipeg police identified those who were killed as investigators work to find out who is responsible. CBC's Brittany Greenslade breaks down what we know so far.
2 sisters born a year apart, killed together. Crystal and Stephanie Beardy, 2 of the victims of a shooting on Langside early Sunday morning.
The family right now are grieving. The mother, I know the mother personally, and she's upset and she's grieving for her 2 children.
Crystal, a mother of 2 boys. Stephanie, of 2 girls. The 2 sisters were from Lake St. Martin First Nation. Crystal lived in Winnipeg. Her sister had just arrived to visit.
They're happy. They're happy individuals. I seen me personally. I seen Stephanie on the Friday, and helped her get to Winnipeg when she was leaving Lake St. Martin.
Police say the sisters were with 3 other people inside a suite of a rooming house on Langside when the shooting happened. Melilik Lesikal and Dylan Lavallee were both also killed. A 55-year-old man is still in critical condition.
This is an extremely troubling event, and it certainly has shocked the community.
The owner of the building told CBC the victims don't live there. Police say all of them were known to officers, but they couldn't say how they were all connected to each other or whether the shootings were targeted.
I think we need to acknowledge that it does strike fear in the community. There are some neighborhoods in our city that require additional help, and right now I think West Broadway is one of those neighborhoods.
Another unknown, who or how many people are involved. Police say they have no suspects.
Someone knows about this crime as well. This is a dangerous offender, in my view, and we must do everything that we can to identify that person and take them into custody.
The Premier has a message for those responsible.
But to the people responsible for this, I want to send a clear message. You do not run our streets. You do not own our streets. We own these streets. The people of Manitoba do. And we deserve to feel safe in our communities. And you deserve to be held accountable.
Police say there will be an increased presence in the area, and officers will be on scene for the remainder of the week gathering evidence. Brittany Greenslade, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A Winnipeg man who was placed under the control of the public guardian and trustee of Manitoba is warning others that this could happen to them. He's been fighting for the past year to get control of his own life. The I-Team's Caroline Bargout has the story.
This is how Paul Cameron Miller used to earn a living. The Winnipeg musician has been writing songs, playing and teaching guitar for decades. For the past few months, the 65-year-old has relied on the kindness of friends to survive, ever since being placed under the care and control of the public guardian and trustee of Manitoba.
I've always looked after myself, and I always had my personal income.
That all changed nearly a year ago. Last December, Miller walked to a local pharmacy and froze his feet. He ended up in hospital for 6 months, where doctors diagnosed him with dementia. He believes his seizure medications interacted with whatever meds he was given, making him appear incapable of looking after himself, and he was placed under the care of the public guardian and trustee.
I was feeling really quite insulted by the time the whole thing had sort of had a chance to have me sort of collect myself here and have a chance to breathe and go, what have I just gone through? And why?
Once a person is under the public trustee, they can no longer make decisions for themselves. They don't have access to their bank accounts, their finances, not even their social insurance number. When Miller was released from the hospital, he wasn't sent to live at home. Instead, he was sent to the Salvation Army homeless shelter. In fact, he still hasn't been able to go to his house, not even to get a coat. He now lives with his friend of 30 years, Chris Olofsson.
He still doesn't have access to his medical records to find out how this all happened to begin with.
Olofsson is now trying to help Miller get his life back.
You would have more rights if you were in a prison because they have say over everything that you do. So we're trying now to fight extremely hard to try to get him out of this system, to get his life back.
The public trustee is supposed to be a guardian of last resort. This law professor says getting out is not impossible, but it is an uphill battle.
Once a guardianship order has been granted, the adult will be seen as not being able to enter a contract. And if that's the case, the lawyer solicitor client relationship is based on a contract. So it makes the hiring of a lawyer very, very challenging.
Miller hasn't been able to see inside his home for nearly a year. He had financial problems before going to hospital, but now he fears his house will go into foreclosure or be sold by the bank to pay off his debts.
I got through the angry part. Now it's time to get some justice here.
Miller is trying to get out from under the public trustee so he can decide what happens to his property. He's trying to get a lawyer and a doctor's note saying he's capable of managing his own life. Caroline Bargout, CBC News, Winnipeg.
And we can tell you Miller met with the trustee this afternoon. He believes the only reason that happened is because he told his story to CBC. They told him he will be allowed to go to his house and retrieve some of his belongings. The trustee also said they are looking at options to avoid foreclosure on his house. Now, if you have a tip for our I-Team, you can call our confidential tip line, the number on your screen there, at 204-788-3744, or email iteam@cbc.ca. 2 Manitoba cabinet ministers have been honored as history makers for First Nations women. Housing, Addictions and Homelessness Minister Bernadette Smith and Families Minister Nahanni Fontaine were presented with star blankets and gifts of moccasins and eagle feathers on Sunday. It was to recognize the 2 First Nations women appointed to the provincial cabinet. Fontaine, she starts every day in her office by smudging, calling it an act to reclaim space in a building not designed for her people. But she says times are different.
Now look at in 2023, who walks in those halls, who takes up those offices, who takes up that space in that chamber, and who brings our people with us every single day that we're in that space.
Bernadette Smith says being called minister is a sacred responsibility. Well, Manitobans could soon be getting a new holiday. The NDP took a step today toward making Orange Shirt Day a statutory holiday in this province. CBC's Ian Fraze covers the legislature for us and joins us live in the newsroom now. Ian, what do we know about this new bill to make Orange Shirt Day a holiday for everyone?
Yeah, the NDP has wanted this to happen for years, but now it looks like it likely will happen. September 30th would be a statutory holiday if this bill passes. Right now in Manitoba, the day is treated as a day of observance. The only things closed are schools and non-essential government offices. But Premier Wap Kinew says this holiday should be available to all.
Orange Shirt Day should be a statutory holiday so that every child in Manitoba can participate, including those kids whose parents work in provincially regulated workplaces like construction, manufacturing, and other settings.
The Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce is in favor of this day. They did a survey of their members and 70% were in favor. But they do worry that for some, this will just end up being another day off.
If you're an office worker and you work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and the day falls on a Saturday, please go participate in the September 30th day. But you should not be entitled to a day in lieu of. That defeats the purpose of the day. The day that in question you are, commemorating, you're participating in those discussions, and the following Monday you're not. So why would you have a day in lieu of?
The government, though, will treat this like any other general holiday. If you work, you could get a day off with pay, or if you do end up working, you'll be paid differently, like time and a half.
Also today, Ian, the Progressive Conservatives argued that farmers won't be eligible for the fuel tax exemption. Right now, a farmer who uses purple gas or dyed gas won't get the same break. What's the government saying about that?
Well, the NDP is saying nobody would be left out. Right now, a lot of farmers use dyed gas because it's cheaper. The provincial gas tax there being 3 cents a litre rather than 14. Finance Minister Adrian Salas says they can just simply make the switch to clear fuel.
All clear gasoline in this province, which farmers can use and are welcome to use, and we encourage them, should we be able to bring this measure in, we'll see that reduction from 14 cents to 0.
PC agriculture critic Jeff Bariza says the rules as they stand are simply confusing. If you have a propane-fueled vehicle, you're simply out of luck. Bariza says it would just be better if nobody ends up paying the gas tax during this period of at least 6 months. Riley.
Thanks, Ian. Provincial Affairs reporter Ian Frey's live in the newsroom tonight. Well, if you're looking to get a head start on your Christmas baking, you might be missing a key ingredient in your pantry. Sugar has been in short supply because of an ongoing strike at the Rogers Sugar Refinery in Vancouver. That is driving up prices and leaving some grocery shelves bare, including here in Winnipeg. Food Fair on Portage received a big shipment from a wholesaler over the weekend and were able to restock their shelves, but staff have had to deal with a lot of puzzled customers.
Most of them are okay with it, but a lot of people get quite upset with you because their Christmas is right around the corner, so they're kind of freaking out.
A lot of people are worried about it just because it's sugar, right? Like sugar, you use it for baking, use it for your coffee, your tea. It's like one of those staple items that you have to have, right? So people are panic buying.
Rogers and its union agreed to mediation yesterday. The sticking points are wages, benefits, and a proposal from the company to increase operations to 24 hours a day year-round. A team of staff at BMO's downtown Winnipeg office are busy packing up toothpaste and coloring books. They are preparing for tomorrow's Giving Tuesday. The bank kicked off its 13th annual employee giving campaign today. That is where employees across the continent are encouraged to give back to their communities ahead of Giving Tuesday, an annual global movement that aims to celebrate charitable acts. United Way's Jason Granger says workplaces across the city are coming together to make meaningful donations.
Yeah, today they're packing up holiday hamper kits that are going to go out to families through an organization called Thrive. And these are going to be timely kits to, again, support individuals and families in our community today.
Now, the BMO kits also include socks, snacks, and self-care items for Winnipeggers who are facing homelessness and hunger. After nearly 50 years in business, the last record store on Portage Avenue sold off its inventory this weekend. Tom Bishop's Sound Exchange at Portage and Yonge Street has been closed since he passed a few years ago. But the executors of the Bishop family estate opened the doors one last time, and we got a look inside.
We'll find it, and I'll put it on, and you can just see the rainbow of emotions that come over them in their body language and their facial expressions when they hear a song that their grandma used to sing to them when they were 5.
Jeff was the embodiment of this store, right? And when Jeff passed away and the store shut down, there was a lot of people, like I got a little teary-eyed. There's a lot of memories here, a lot of good memories. You had Mother's downtown, you had Pepper Records, you had Kelly's Records, you had Records on Wheels. There was so much record activity, and once CDs and digital media came out, a lot of those, they couldn't compete. They went by the wayside. This was sort of like the last vestige of record stores. Jeff passed away about three and a half years ago, and that's when the store closed. It was under lock and key until we reopened it today. When we were maintaining the property, there's a lot of notes slipped under the door. What's going on with the store? Is the store going to reopen? What's happened? You know, like there was a lot of interested parties like that really had an emotional attachment to this store.
There's Ella Fitzgerald. Oh, there we go, Elvis.
But a lot of people have discovered that it's the warmth of vinyl that you can't replicate with a digital reproduction of the music.
Geez, I mean, for me, it's like collecting sports cards. You know, because you get songs on the 45s you don't get on the LPs, like the small bands, you know, Winnipeg groups that didn't have the money to record LPs, you know. So that's why I collect them, because I like all the local stuff. It'll be a loss that it's gone, but it's good that we're having one last hurrah.
This is the Big Snit. Hello. John Coltrane, John Lee Hooker, Albert Ayler. This is the find right here. I paid $20 for this, but I'm buying it again to give it away.
And Jeff was a character, eccentric but a lovable guy. Had a story to tell for anybody that walked through the door. Had a smile for everybody. There's a lot of memories, a lot of lot of well-wishers actually, wondering what happened to the store, and they want it to continue. They want the store to continue.
I was just telling young Riley here about that little centerpiece that you put in the 45. You know, people my age, you'll know what I'm talking about. That made the 45 sit in the. Remember those?
No, I don't remember those.
No,
but yeah. John, I was out running some errands this morning. Cold morning out there.
Yeah, you know, we never got above minus 12 today, so missed the mark on the forecast high of minus 9, and temperature has been really dropping. But the good news is, if you aren't quite used to the cold, it is going to warm up. Let's have a look at the current conditions first. Minus 16 right now. Not much of a wind out there. West at 4 earlier today, around 20 kilometers per hour. And pressure has been rising pretty high at 102.4. And that'll continue to rise through into the early evening hours with the clear sky that's over us now. But yeah, we've got this clear sky, a little bit of cloud off to the eastern side of Lake Winnipeg. And this is where we could still see some snow tonight out into Barons River. A lot of this coming off the north basin of Lake Winnipeg, providing some snowfall. Pretty clear down in the Red River Valley. And to the west of us, starting to see a little bit of cloud from a weak system, though, that will move into northern Manitoba overnight and through into tomorrow. You can see the snow right now in northern Saskatchewan from this system. And it's really a trough line that kind of extends down into the south. So by early on Tuesday, we're picking up an accumulating snow around Thompson, Norway House that eventually moves off to the east. And this is about 2 to 4 centimeters of snow. Might pick up a centimeter or so in Gimli, but Winnipeg is right on the southern edge, and this just kind of scoots through out to the east. So I think we could see a couple of snowflakes here, but not a lot of snow. A couple of centimeters possible through areas like Kenora and up into Red Lake, and some periods of snow through Fort Francis. But here's Tuesday afternoon, and by that time, winds will have shifted behind the trough line, and then we start to clear again. Wednesday brings a sun-cloud mix, and still temperatures above zero. A few more flurries up through western sections of central Manitoba on Wednesday afternoon. Watch the wind direction here. Now, the numbers of the wind velocity, the arrows are what direction the wind is traveling from. So we look at 8:30 in the morning, and we still have a south wind here in the Red River Valley. And it is a bit on the breezy side, 22 to 33. Emerson, a gust up around 40. Kenora at 30. Beausejour at 43. And you look out to the west behind this little trough or cold front, and winds have already shifted. And as that cold front moves through, we all get into these northwesterly winds, and they will be just as strong in the afternoon. Up around 28 in Winnipeg, 39 in Carman, Morden at 41. So, yes, a breezy afternoon after that frontal system goes through and it shifts to the northwest. So we're already at the overnight low tonight, and I think what will happen is once the clouds start to increase overnight, temperatures will rise into the morning. -8 in the morning, south wind 20 to 30, and then in the afternoon a very slight chance of a snowflake here and there, but 2 degrees. I think a lot of what fell on Saturday evening will be melting in the next couple of days, with another 2 degrees on Wednesday, and then -2s for Thursday and for Friday. And Friday brings afternoon clearing. And then, you know what, Riley? It looks like our temperatures will stay above the seasonal normal, which is -6 as we head right through the weekend.
All right, thanks, John.
You bet.
The Arlington Bridge is once again in the spotlight here in Winnipeg with its closure and questions, of course, about its future. It is the longest bridge in the city, but its story is far longer, underscored by colorful lore, unfulfilled promises, and the weight of paint. I spoke on Friday with local historian and blogger Christian Cassidy about the 111-year-old structure. Here's part of our conversation. Well, love it or hate it, Winnipeggers are talking about the Arlington Street Bridge once again here. I'm here with Christian Cassidy. You've done a lot and talked a lot about this bridge in the past. Are you surprised it's come to this?
No, I'm not surprised. I was on the community panel back in 2018 that was looking at replacing the bridge and what to replace it with, and they were quite adamant that in 2024 the bridge would be decommissioned, and it almost made it to 2024.
And this bridge has a really long and storied history. Maybe just give me, if you can, the Coles notes on the history of this bridge and how it got here.
Well, sure. You said love it or hate it, and it's always been like that right from its planning stages. It was originally supposed to be part of a central belt line that would run parallel to Main Street from the north boundary of the city down through the city to the Assiniboine River, across the Assiniboine to Harrow Street. So it was supposed to parallel Main Street. Before the bridge, before they even put the shovels in the ground to build the bridge, that beltway sort of fell apart. So right off the bat, there were people questioning why we needed the bridge. But its saving grace was that it would be the second streetcar connection between the north end and the rest of the city. So a lot of people held their nose, said, fine, let's go ahead with the bridge. And of course, because of the steep grade, no streetcar ever ran over the Arlington Street Bridge. So pretty much right from 1912, when it opened in February, it was already a sort of a white elephant.
Yeah. And my understanding is it's been on, the need to be replaced list since, the late 60s.
Yeah, since the 60s. That's the year they brought in all the weight restrictions on the bridge, no buses, no trucks. I believe they even stopped painting it in the 60s because of weight concerns. And but the calls to tear it down because of repairs started in the 1940s. The bridge had a lot of repairs happening in the 1930s. Big major structural repairs in the 40s, and there were some people like Councillor John Bloomberg at the time who said, we got to tear this down and stop pouring money into it. Yet here we are 80 years later, and the bridge is still standing. So it has, yes, it has always had issues like that.
Yeah. But even still, I guess, it was one of those bridges that wasn't really as well used as some of the others in the city.
No, and I think that's also played against it over the years. I think last study I saw of the top 15 bridges in the city was number 15 for the amount of traffic. So you're talking 13 to 15,000 cars, and so it's never quite made it to the top of anybody's infrastructure priority list, right? There's always stuff that jump in there ahead of it and beat it out, and that's probably going to happen again.
Are you sad to see it go?
Yeah, sad to see it go. I mean, love it or hate it, it is a landmark. It's a very unique bridge in the city. It has a great history, and it'll be sad to see go, both as somebody who lives near it, and I drive it quite often, and both as a piece of Winnipeg history.
Still ahead tonight, the original 4-day ceasefire between Israel and Hamas expires in just a few hours from now. Both sides, though, have agreed to extend that pause past the deadline. The latest up next. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. Israel and Hamas have agreed to extend the truce in Gaza by 2 more days. The announcement comes on the final day of the original 4-day pause in fighting. Israel says 11 more hostages have been released, while Hamas said it has received a list of 33 Palestinians that will be released from Israeli jails in return. Tom Perry has more.
An Israeli mother reunited with her 2 daughters, aged 8 and 15, kidnapped and held hostage by Hamas on October 7th, an attack that left other members of the family dead. Since that day, Israel has pounded parts of Gaza to rubble, exacting a steep toll on Palestinian civilians. Israel and Hamas have now agreed to extend a 4-day truce.
Now, in order to extend the pause, Hamas has committed to releasing another 20 women and children over the next 2 days. We would, of course, hope to see the pause extended further, and that will depend upon Hamas continuing to release hostages.
In return, Israel has been freeing Palestinian women and minors held in its prisons. More aid is also being allowed into Gaza, where Palestinian families have been crowding UN relief centers, trying to get their hands on desperately needed supplies. We came here to get flour, this woman says. We're in a severe crisis and the truce days are not enough. We want a permanent truce. The UN Secretary General warns this extension won't be enough to deliver all the aid that's needed.
I strongly hope that this will enable us to increase even more the humanitarian aid to the people in Gaza that is suffering so much, knowing that even with that additional amount of time, it will be impossible to satisfy all the dramatic needs of the population in Gaza.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today offered a personal tour of a kibbutz attacked on October 7th to one of the world's wealthiest men, Elon Musk. The owner of the website X, formerly known as Twitter, has faced a backlash after he endorsed a post on the site seen as anti-Semitic. In Gaza, meanwhile, Palestinians continue to seek safety, while in Israel, more families are hoping to be reunited with loved ones taken hostage, with an uneasy truce between Israel and Hamas holding for now. Tom Perry, CBC News, Ottawa.
Food insecurity is a growing problem right across this country, and a report released today in Ontario is painting a dim picture of the current need. It says last year marked a 40% jump in the number of people who rely on them. CBC's Jamie Strachan has this report.
In this bustling Toronto food bank, the pace is dizzying. Volunteers scurry to pack and process food for clients who are desperate.
If it wasn't for the food bank, I'm telling you, there would be a lot of people starving, including myself, because we really need it.
Everyone's story of why they are here is different, yet very much the same. They don't have enough to cover life's basics.
All that money goes to the rent and the bills. By the time I finish pay the bills, I have nothing. Sometimes not even enough to buy a cup of tea.
With 3 children to feed, Pon works as a cleaner. But at the end of the day, skyrocketing food prices have made it impossible to fill her family's fridge.
You go to the groceries, you pick up a few items, and they're telling you $200. And you're looking at the food on the counter, and I'm asking them, what am I paying $200 for? It doesn't even last a month. That's like a week.
Ever since COVID, visits to food banks have surged. It seems every time the numbers are examined, usage continues to grow exponentially. A new report shows a sobering situation in Ontario, 60% more users than before COVID, a 38% increase from last year. The biggest shift? The huge increase in the number of users who are working.
That old kind of saying of going to school and getting a job sets you up for life is no longer applicable. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to be able to afford your most basic necessities.
People who have been working in food banks for years say there is a desperation never seen before. More people admitting they can't make it on their own.
I feel that we're in a state of emergency at this point, and something has to be done to take care of this, because people cannot continue to deal with this. Folks are dealing with a lot. It's also impacting their mental health.
Pon says for those desperately fighting to survive, times are bleak and the need greater than ever.
If you're not mentally and physically strong now, you cannot make it out there. You can't.
Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
Questions are being posed about how effective new federal mortgage guidelines will be at keeping Canadians in their homes. The federal government unveiled the rules last week, and some say it might not do much to offset punishing interest rates. JP Tasker has the story.
Bikram Deep Singh has a mortgage renewal looming on his Vancouver area townhome.
Right now, I'm looking at the renewal rates somewhere between 6 and 6.5%. So that's going to be like bringing my payments 30 to 40% up. So that's going to be a significant chunk of money that I'll be spending every month.
Singh was already just trying to keep his head above water.
I'm the sole income earner in my family, so that definitely puts some stress.
About 2.2 million mortgages are up for renewal in the next 2 years, according to federal data. Those households will be paying a lot more with record low rates in the rearview mirror. Kevin Larkin doesn't think he can keep his Surrey, BC home on a teacher's salary.
You know, I've just been running the numbers, and I don't see how I'm going to be able to renew and afford this.
Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland says Ottawa is doing what it can to avoid a spike in foreclosures.
I want Canadians to get through this. I want Canadians to be able to afford their mortgages and keep their homes.
That's where the government's new mortgage charter comes in. A series of guidelines for banks, including allowing temporary extensions of amortization periods so people can take longer to pay, and exempting homeowners from a stress test when switching lenders at renewal.
Most banks were doing many of these things.
This real estate watcher says the charter won't change much. People are already offloading properties they can't afford, and it could get worse.
If rates stay in the 6s for another 12 months, we're going to have potentially and very likely some downward pressure on prices. I mean, something's going to break.
The good news is inflation seems to have stabilized. The bad news, interest rates might not go down as fast as they went up. The governor of the Bank of Canada has warned people should prepare to live with higher rates for longer. JP Tasker, CBC News, Ottawa.
Victims of historical sexual assault from across Canada are calling for changes to the way the civil court system and lawyers are allowed to treat plaintiffs. Several survivors tell CBC News they have been re-traumatized during civil proceedings. CBC's Julie Ireton explains, and before we begin, a warning to viewers that some of the details in this story are distressing.
John Cody's Montreal apartment looks more like a hospital room than a home these days. In recent years, he suffered from cancer and a neurological disease. He's unwell, but he says there was something he needed to do.
It's necessary to speak truth to power.
Cody was abused at Ottawa's Bell High School in the 1970s. His former teacher, Bob Clark, went to prison a few years ago. Our previous investigations into the teacher revealed many people, including those in power within institutions, knew about Clark's behavior. Yet the abuse continued for Cody and at least 9 other victims. Cody and other survivors eventually sued the school board and the Royal. But he says the civil process was cruel and unethical.
Opposing counsel had said they were willing to fail the mediation because I would be dead before we got a trial date and they wouldn't have to pay out any settlement.
In John Cody's case, a lawyer representing the school board says his team would never resort to such tactics. But other victims tell CBC they've gone through similar experiences. One adult survivor says he was just 12 when he was sexually assaulted by 2 Catholic priests. A lawyer representing the church asked him repeatedly if he was aroused during those incidents. Another survivor, Rosemary Anderson, describes her own civil lawsuit against the Catholic Church. She was repeatedly sexually assaulted by a priest in Kamloops, BC. She found out there were other victims. She says at trial, the church's lawyer turned that against her.
Well, he says, let me put it to you. You were upset because you were angry that there was someone else.
Myrna McCallum produces a podcast called The Trauma-Informed Lawyer. She wants to see better training.
Throughout law school and the bar course, never once did we talk about people, did we talk about trauma, did we talk about empathy, humanity.
John Cody and other survivors say the system has to change. Julie Ireton, CBC News, Ottawa.
Still ahead tonight, we will hear from a Winnipeg teacher who is using AI to her advantage in the classroom. Well, AI has been in the spotlight as its use becomes evidently more prominent in our lives. And one Winnipeg educator says rather than run away from it, we should embrace it. Grade 6 teacher Sophie Theodora is using AI tools like ChatGPT to spice up her classroom and using TikTok to teach other educators about how they can use AI in the classrooms as well. She spoke with CBC's Marcy Marcusa this morning.
I became interested in AI when ChatGPT came out about a year ago in December 2022, and I've been keeping up with the news and newsletters weekly, reading about it. And then over the summer, in one of the newsletters, they mentioned an AI tool for teachers. So I started diving deeper into that, and I actually saw a TikTok that another teacher made in the United States, and I said, hey, I can make videos like this. So I kind of started creating 2 or 3 videos and forgot about it for a couple of days, and I came back and I had about 3,000 followers, and I guess teachers were really interested in this kind of thing and these free tools that could help them save time and finally the assistant they've always kind of needed and wanted. So other ways I've used AI in the classroom so far is chatting with historical chatbots. So kind of making history or social studies a little bit more engaging by actually talking to L'Oreal or talking to the Wright brothers and asking them questions. Another way I've used it is...
Can I stop you there?
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
did the kids respond to that?
They thought it was unreal.
Like that would be, I think, I think I want to hear what that would be like.
Yes.
So the kids must have just been like, this is awesome.
Yes, absolutely. And I also have the ability to create my own chatbot. So I could create one of Drake or of their favorite YouTuber or whatever it might be.
What else have you used it for? Do you use it for any of the admin work? I'm just curious.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It can help me generate report card comments. It can help me generate outlines for emails. It can help me compress really long documents I have to read and just extract the key information, because as teachers, we don't have a ton of prep time and we want to have the most face-to-face time with our students possible. So anything that can kind of speed track the admin process is really valuable to us. The majority of professions nowadays are using AI in some way to enhance their workflow. So if teachers are using it ethically, there's nothing wrong with it. If it allows them to have more time with their students, one-on-one, face-to-face, direct instruction, then it's a good thing.
What reaction do you get from students when you tell them you're going to use AI?
Oh, that was funny. Well, when one of the students saw me on ChatGPT with the spelling bee, he said, "What? You use ChatGPT? That's cheating." And then you know what? It was good because it prompted a really good discussion and a good teachable learning moment, because these students are going to be coming into contact with ChatGPT or AI. It's not going anywhere. It's a whole revolution. So why not educate them on how to use it properly now?
So somewhere they got messages that it's bad.
Yes. Yeah.
Already. And then you have to sort of educate them about how it can be used.
Exactly. I think the whole thing was when it came out, professors and teachers were upset about students using it to cheat, which rightfully so, but now there are ways around that.
What's the parental reaction been like?
I haven't heard much feedback from parents yet, but on my TikTok, there's lots of parents that comment and say, "This is so cool. Can I use this at home with my child?" Or if I showcase a tool, they're always curious. So not too much negative backlash on
Have
that.
you run into anything that has given you pause about using it, or something that you learned where maybe that you could pass on that's a best practice if teachers are interested in listening?
Absolutely. So it's not just something that you can plug in a prompt or tell it to do something and it's going to do it perfectly the first time, which I think is a big misconception, that AI will just do it for you. It takes a lot of probing and prompting and kind of training the chatbots to get what you really want. So be patient. Maybe do some research on prompt engineering, which is what it's called when you kind of when you prompt the chatbot to get your desired outcome. And AI is not going to replace you. We know students struggle to learn remotely, as we saw in COVID. The face-to-face instruction will never be replaced. So why not use a tool that allows you to have more of that?
Thanks for coming in. Really a great conversation for educators. Appreciate it.
Weather Update is brought to you by the art and beauty of the National Ballet of Ukraine. January 29th at the Burton Cummings Theatre. Tickets at nationalballetukraine.com.
Meteorologist John Sauter is back with us. Less than a month to Christmas now, John, and I think a lot of parents probably looking for the white Christmas for their kids.
You know, and there isn't much snow on the ground right now. You know, a skiff that we got on Saturday night, and I think in the next couple of days even that's going to melt, so people are starting to ask. So what I did is I took 9 cities, just random cities from across Canada, and I looked up the percentage chance we have of having a white Christmas. So let's get right to that. And I started with Toronto and then went out to the west of Vancouver and Victoria. So Toronto, 45%. And as you would expect, Vancouver, much, much less of a chance of having a white Christmas. Only 9%, 12% in Victoria, pretty low. And then we move into Alberta, Edmonton, 88%, Calgary, a little closer to the mountains, so 61%, the odd Chinook here and there. Regina, 87%. I'm surprised that's not a little higher. And then we go to the east. Montreal, 75, Halifax, 52, and Winnipeg, pretty much a sure thing. It's a 99% chance that we will have a white Christmas in Winnipeg. We're just going to have to wait a little while for the snow, as you'll see a little later in my long-range forecast. Minus 16 at the airport, minus 12, though, downtown. That's really the best we did in Winnipeg today. Moving a little farther to the west, right now we're minus 9 in Brandon. Temperatures pretty much mid-minus teens across the region and out into northwestern Ontario, and even some mid-minus 20s across the north. Haven't seen this yet this year, but minus 24 in Thompson right now and minus 24 in Churchill. Not a lot of clouds through the Interlake and Red River Valley. That's why our temperature is falling a little bit, but it will rise overnight. These are the overnight lows with no snow expected across into northwestern Ontario. Just mainly cloudy skies, a few breaks in the clouds. Same here in southern Manitoba, although just out onto the east side of Lake Winnipeg, we could see some snow squalls. Winds are strong enough and have been strong enough or will be strong enough overnight to produce some snow up into the Barons River area. And just a chance of flurries around Swan River overnight, a low of minus 11 in the Brandon area. Across the north, we've got that system moving in from northern Saskatchewan. So some light snow overnight in the west, couple of centimeters Lynn Lake, and some light snow stretching off into regions like Thompson and Norway House, where tomorrow it'll be more like 2 to 4 centimeters. Also in Island Lake and Gillam, but very warm out to the west. 1s and 2s in Flin Flon and the Paw. 3 degrees pretty much right across the southwest. A slight chance of a flurry if you're in the northern end of the Red River Valley or around Portage. Better chance, though, in Gimli. 2 to 4 centimeters tomorrow in Barons River. And then on into northwestern Ontario, a couple of centimeters for Kenora and for Red Lake.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Still ahead tonight, starting next week, more Canadians will be able to donate blood. We'll tell you why after the break. Well, changes are coming next week to who can donate blood in this country. Health Canada is lifting a ban on blood donations from people who lived or traveled in the United Kingdom, Ireland, or France for long periods of time in the 1980s and 90s. The ban was adopted to prevent the transmission of what was known as the human form of mad cow disease. For more, I want to bring on Brett Lawrence, a Community Development Manager at Canadian Blood Services. Thanks for coming on the program tonight.
Thanks for having me, Riley.
So just broadly, I guess, what will this change mean come next Monday?
So starting December 4th, folks that traveled to the UK, Ireland, or France during the 1980s will now be able to donate blood.
What prompted this ban to be lifted?
So during that time, there was the outbreak of mad cow disease, and there was the risk that folks that did ingest this infected meat could transmit that blood if they donated blood to a patient. So this was a precautionary measure taken in the late 90s to prevent that from happening.
Do you have any estimate, I guess, at this point on how many more people could possibly now become donors in this country because of this?
So the data we have is from 2017, about 7,500 people were deferred from donating blood. Those are just the people who came in to donate, then were deferred. That's not counting the people that did self-defer. So we're hoping to see several thousand people now eligible to donate blood.
And I guess in turn, what will this potentially mean for the donors and I guess the blood supply in this country to have this many more people that are eligible?
Well, we're hoping this is just one more step to have a wider donor pool to pull from and have more people to donate blood. We need about 100,000 new donors to donate each year in Canada, so we're hoping this will take a chunk out of that.
So we're of course entering the holiday season. Is there a need for more local donors and more blood products here locally in Manitoba?
Yeah, in Manitoba, the eligible people that actually can donate blood, that only about 2% of them actually do donate blood. So really calling out to folks to donate, especially from December 4th to January 7th. We have over 2,000 open appointments at 777 William Avenue, and those blood appointments will be there to help patients in need.
So you talk about helping patients in need, I guess. Broad question, who can donate blood? And maybe just walk me through how easy is it for someone to walk in and give blood?
Sure. So if you're over the age of 17 and in good general health, there's a good chance you are able to donate blood. About 1 in 2 people in Canada are eligible to donate blood. When you come to our donor center, you can expect to spend about an hour of your time with us. Needles not on your arm the whole hour. It's about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the person. And most of the time spent at the donor center is actually in the screening procedure, as well as getting the juice and cookies at the end of the donation.
Who can be a donor in not just Manitoba, but in Canada in general? Who can be a donor here?
So as long as you are able to come into a Canadian Blood Services donor center and you book an appointment on blood.ca or phone our number 1-888-2donate and then pass the eligibility, then we are happy to have you come donate blood.
Okay. And maybe tell me about the need, I guess, as we get through the holiday season here. What will that mean for the blood supply, I guess, and how much more donors that you're needing through the holidays?
Yeah, so currently the state of blood in Canada is the amount of people donating is outpacing, the hospital demand is outpacing the amount of people coming in to donate. So we're really needing folks to come out to donate. If you haven't donated blood in a while or you've never donated blood before, we're really asking you to come out to donate to help patients in need.
And maybe just one more time, I guess, if people are looking to book appointments or need any more information, where can they find that information?
So they can visit blood.ca, they can phone 1-888-236-6283, or if they're a regular donor, they can download the Give Blood app.
All right. Brett Lawrence at Canadian Blood Services, thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Riley.
Coming up, John Sauter is back with his 7-day forecast and a daily lift for you that might have you wanting to add a pet or two, or maybe more to your family. Stay with us.
Well, here is your 7-day forecast. Increasing cloud overnight, so a cloudier day on the way for tomorrow and a slight chance of a flurry. Winnipeg just on the south end of that. And temperatures, look at this, +2s for the next couple of days. And then we are well above seasonal, which would be -6, but -2s for Thursday and Friday. And pretty much the same kind of temperatures on through the weekend and not much snow in the forecast at all. You know, being a mom is a lot of work at the best of times, but one sweet pup at the Winnipeg Humane Society has doubled her workload recently.
So the mother of 6 puppies has taken on another 6, and that is tonight's Daily Lift. This is Zara. She came into the Humane Society with her litter of 6 puppies, and then another litter of 6 with no mom came in. So Zara graciously accepted all of them as her own. Now she's a mother to a dozen needy puppies. Staff at the Humane Society say the pups are gaining weight and they are being closely monitored by the team. Now, they are looking for a foster home for Zara and her brood for the next 6 to 7 weeks where they can all continue to grow.
Look at that.
So, John, if you think you might be able to give this supermom a hand, you can get in touch with the Humane Society on that one.
Can you imagine having 13 dogs in your...
That is a lot.
Be a lot
Takes
of
some
work.
skill. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. We'll see you at 11. Marjorie Dowhouse is here at the desk with us tomorrow. So we'll see you again. Have a good night.
See you then.